Yeah, my name is Antonio Dunbar, or Tony Dunbar, originally from Limerick in Ireland, Limerick City. Went to University College Galway, and graduated from there, and actually met my wife Ethna there in University College in Galway. After getting a master's degree, I decided maybe this was in the 70s, late 60s, I guess, yeah. And there was a continuous flow of students from Galway to the United States, really, to do some graduate work, but that was kind of drying up a bit. So, hey, there's still people are now beginning to go to Canada for graduate work. So I said, oh, I applied to some of the universities here in Canada, and eventually settled on the University of Western Ontario in London, Ontario, and spent a few years there on a PhD program, and sort of got a little, I'd already spent about 7 years of university, got a little bit worn out, and decided to drop out. So I'm a PhD dropout. Got a job in a small pharmaceutical company in London, Ontario, which ultimately shut down. And in the mid-74 or 5, I came to Brockville, Ontario, which is just east of here, in Kingston, and got a job at Park Davis Pharmaceutical Company, and spent about basically my career there, yeah, in quality assurance. I'm a chemist, degree in chemistry, so. And actually, before that, Ethna came over. I came over first. She came over to London, Ontario. We got married in London, Ontario, and eventually she moved, obviously, with me to Brockville, and we've lived there for quite a number of years. I've had 4 kids, and 4 good Irish-Canadian kids, and they're all graduated and done well for themselves, and we're both now retired and living in Brockville. Very much part of the Irish scene there. Ethna did start about 20-some years ago the Brockville Irish Cultural Society, and that's grown from strength to strength in promoting Irish culture, music, literature, language even, yeah. With regards to the Irish language, we've joined up with the effort here that Harold MacGillig started, and Harold formed a Gaeltacht just north of Kingston here, and we've been very much part of that over the years. We've kept up our Irish language, learned it at school. We didn't learn it from our parents. Our parents didn't have, well, my parents in particular didn't have very much Irish. Ethna's mother was a teacher, and she was very fond of the language, and Ethna had occasion to go to the Gaeltacht while she was at school in Ireland. So her Irish is she's more fluent than I am, but I've kept it going. I've always had a graw, as they say, for a bit of love for the Irish language, and kept it going, and reasonably fluent. And, you know, we do attend the Gaeltacht occasions and events, and those are carried out through the medium of the Irish language. And it's kind of, it's unique, I suppose. It was certainly a Gaeltacht in North America. It's situated in Kingston, or Tamworth, north of Kingston, but it attracts Irish speakers from the United States as well. So it's always quite something coming from Limerick and Ireland to be introduced to Mr. Sean McGarrald on Bronx. So I've been through that. This gentleman who was born and raised in the Bronx, and he's introducing himself to me in the Irish language. Is quite something, yeah. It's ironic in many ways. We go back to Ireland, and we're hard pressed to find Irish speakers in Ireland. Yeah. And as Irish is the first official language, as it says in the Constitution, but although there is a move nowadays, it's kind of moving. I think the Gael schools, the Irish immersion schools, are sort of, it's actually being a little bit cynical. It's become trendy now to send your kids in Ireland to to the Irish immersion schools. There's a little bit of that here in Canada as well, the French immersion schools among the English. In some ways it's seen as a streaming effort. The teaching is there, the classes are smaller, and you get a better all-round education. But anyway, that's it. Canada, yeah, we're happy in Canada. Culture shock. I mean, any immigration involves a bit of a culture shock. One of the earliest items that culturally shook me was when to become a Canadian citizen, which I would have done after 3 or 4 years. When I, like some of my kind, we ran into the face of the oath of allegiance. Most Canadians are not aware of what it is. It's right in your face. I swear allegiance to Queen Elizabeth II and all her lawful successors. No, it's not an oath of allegiance to Canada. Canada's barely mentioned. Actually, I'm about to renew some correspondence I've had on the topic with the Liberal government, people in the government a few years ago. They sort of passed it along from one person to the other. I never did get a direct answer. I'm going to renew it again because there's a general election coming up. I can understand it's not exactly, it wouldn't be a great vote grabber, getter, especially around these parts, loyalist Ontario, but what I do is I contrast it with the Australian oath. They've got the same head of state. There is no mention of the head of state. They don't even swear, they pledge allegiance. I will be faithful to Australia and honest laws, blah, blah, blah. The minute I mention, the oath, people say, oh, but you're against the Queen. No, that's a separate issue. If you swear or pledge allegiance to Canada, the head of state, the legal head of state of Canada is the Queen. That's fine. So therefore you are, in a sense, you're saying, yes, I'm loyal to all of the aspects of Canada, including the head of state. Is that an appropriate head of state for Canada? I don't think so, but that's a separate issue. But anyway, so there you go. There's a little snippet. I guess that's a little insight from an Irish nationalist, and I'm not alone there either. It's some people some Irish immigrants have gone to court over this issue, saying it's an infringement on their rights and to have to take it. And an oath is not a trivial thing. You're taking an oath to a person, right? There's just something just not right there. Would you take an oath to Barack Obama, Donald Trump, for God's sake? Michael Higgins maybe, but yeah. But when you think about it, to take an oath of allegiance to a person, yeah. And as I say, if the Australians can do without it, but still be part of the Commonwealth and still have Queen Elizabeth II as their head of state, we should be able to do something here. So I have the greatest respect for Elizabeth Windsor as a person. I mean, when she came to Ireland there a few years ago, I mean, that was amazing to see her bow her head at the Garden of Remembrance to those who had fought and died in the struggle against the crown. Anyway, Brockville, Ontario, so I give full credit to Ethna, my wife Ethna. We're starting this Irish Cultural Society, and she's brought in some amazing Irish groups, musicians. Myself, just a few years back, I decided, on the literary side of it, the cultural side, I started a Bloomsday celebration. Bloomsday, June the 16th, the day that Leopold Bloom did his odyssey around Dublin, as described by James Joyce in his great novel Ulysses. That's about 900 pages of, in many cases, barely understandable stream of consciousness prose. Actually, people say it's touted as being the greatest unread novel in the English language. I've gone through it myself. The key to reading Ulysses is to realize the humor that's in it. But anyway, so actually we're just getting ready for our 9th celebration of Bloomsday in Brockville. It will involve, we'll play some music of an Irish nature, and we have readings from Ulysses, and all in all, it's turned out to be quite a unique event, and we do get a good turnout, and we even managed to get a liquor license in Brockville's public library. I mean, there you go. Scotch Presbyterians, sorry, but they're the ones that made us dry. Actually, there's another culture shock, not that I'm a drinker, but the attitude to alcohol in maybe Ontario, I don't know, it's just absolutely ridiculous to put up snow fences if there's a group of people having a drink, just in case I even witnessed at one stage a grandfather, he was out at an event and he had his 5 or 6 year old grandchild with him, and the granddad had volunteered in this then afterwards there was a little bit of a reception like inside, but it was outdoors. They had a snow fence around it. He couldn't come in because he had his 4 or 5 year old grandchild with him, so he couldn't come into the area and partake of the drink and the munchies because he'd be bound to load that 4-year-old kid up with some demon alcohol, demon drink. That was the attitude. What else is there? Yeah, music. I could hear Etna singing. She's really a musician. She's a wonderful singer, and she's made 2 CDs. Over the years we've been, along with her, I've been part of some. We've had little traditional Irish music groups. The first one was what we called Sláinte. Eventually we kind of morphed into Dublin Road. I guess people weren't sure what is Sláinte. I mean, Dublin Road, sort of. There must be an Irish group. Sláinte, they weren't sure. The funny looking word, Slainte. So we've been playing over the years. Currently, we have an Irish music, traditional Irish music session in a coffee shop in Brockville. As Etna says to them, which is. At the end, we're here every other Sunday. My little Irish sense of humour clicks in. I said, for God's sake, Etna, don't say every other Sunday. There's some Irish guys out there saying, Jesus, I didn't know there was another Sunday. It's bad enough having one. Got to go to Mass once a week. This seems to imply we'll be going twice a week.